Welcome to this quiet space of discovery as the world outside begins to recede and the noise of the day fades into a soft, distant hum. You have found a place where curiosity meets calm. I am so glad you've joined me tonight. We are embarking on a journey through the most mysterious and essential part of our lives, the hours we spend in the gentle embrace of sleep. For a long time, it was believed that sleep was simply a passive state, a period where the brain effectively turned off to save energy. But modern science has shown us something far more fascinating. Your mind does not simply go dark when you close your eyes. Instead, it enters a state of incredible, rhythmic, and purposeful activity. While your body rests, your brain is performing a delicate dance of maintenance and creation. It is a nightly journey that is as complex and vital as any waking task. Yet it happens in the softest of silences, beneath the surface of your awareness. Think of your mind as a grand, ancient library. During the hours you are awake, the library is full of visitors. Books are being pulled from the shelves, new information is arriving in disorganized stacks on the floor, and the desks are cluttered with the busy work of the day. When you finally drift off, the library doors aren't just locked, the real work begins. This is when the sorting happens. This is when the cleaning, the repairing, and the careful filing of memories take place. Your brain is not idle. It is working with profound intention, ensuring that the architecture of your mind remains strong and clear. Before we begin our exploration of these nightly wonders, I invite you to settle in completely. If you need to adjust your pillow or pull your blankets a little higher, take a moment to do that now. Let your shoulders relax and feel the weight of your body being fully supported by the bed beneath you. Together, let's take a slow, deep breath in, feeling the cool air fill your lungs. Hold it for a heartbeat, and then release it slowly, letting go of any lingering tension or thoughts from the day. There is no rush here. There is only the quiet unfolding of knowledge. If you find that this peaceful way of learning helps you relax and drift off, you might consider subscribing to the channel or leaving a soft, thoughtful comment. These small gestures help our quiet community grow and ensure we can continue these journeys together. It truly is a pleasure to have you here in this quiet space. Tonight, we will explore the profound why behind our nightly rest. We will look at the remarkable biological processes that protect your health, the chemical signals that guide you into dreams, and the way your brain meticulously organizes your life while you're unaware. We are going to understand the science of how we drift away, starting with that very first unmistakable feeling of heaviness that tells us the day is over and the night is ready to begin. This weight is not accidental. It is the result of a fascinating chemical buildup that has been occurring since the moment you woke up this morning. That specific sensation we often call sleep pressure is an unmistakable feeling, like gravity pulling a little harder on your eyelids, or the way your limbs begin to feel as though they are made of soft, warm sand. This isn't just a general sign of being tired. It is a physical, measurable force within your biology. Scientists call it homeostatic sleep drive, but you can think of it as your body's natural way of keeping score. Since the very first second you opened your eyes this morning, your brain has been building a record of your wakefulness, Every thought you had, every step you took, and every breath you drew required energy. As your brain cells, your neurons, burned through their fuel, they produced a tiny molecular byproduct called adenosine. Imagine adenosine as a gentle, invisible mist that slowly fills a room throughout the day. In the early morning, the air is clear and you feel sharp and alert. But as the hours pass, the mist grows thicker and more pervasive. This molecule is your brain's primary dimmer switch. As adenosine accumulates, it begins to plug into specific receptors in your brain. And as it does, it sends a clear, persistent signal. It is time to slow down. It begins to muffle the loud, frantic signals of the day, turning down the volume on your surroundings and easing your nervous system into a state of quiet preparation. You might wonder how the brain knows exactly when the cup is full. When the pressure has become too much to ignore, it is a beautiful, delicate balance. While the adenosine is building up, your internal biological clock is working to keep you upright and focused. But eventually, the sleep pressure becomes so great that it overcomes the signals of wakefulness. This is the moment the switch begins to flip. It is a protective, almost loving act by your biology. Your brain isn't just shutting down because it's exhausted. It is stepping in to protect you, ensuring that you stop before your systems are overwhelmed. It is a natural accumulation of the day's energy, a sign that you have lived, worked, and thought deeply. And now, the debt of that energy must be paid in the currency of rest. As you lie there now, try to notice that pressure in your own body. Perhaps you feel it in the slight heaviness of your jaw, or in the way your hands feel so wonderfully still against the sheets. Acknowledge that weight not as a burden, but as the chemical signature of a day well spent. Adenosine is doing its work right now, quietly telling your heart to beat a little slower and your mind to let go of the outside world. This pressure is the bridge that leads you away from the noise and toward the silent threshold of sleep. We are standing now at that very threshold where the feeling of sleepiness begins to transform into the actual act of drifting. It is the moment when you decide to let the world go, and your brain prepares to shift its gaze from the light of the day to the inner landscapes of the night. It is the moment the eyes finally close and the world begins to recede into the distance. The moment your eyelids finally meet is more than just a physical rest for your eyes. It is a profound biological transition. It is the first boundary you set between the waking world and the inner sanctuary of your mind. As the light is blocked out, the world begins to recede. The walls of your room, the furniture, the distant sounds of the street, they all begin to lose their sharpness. You are moving from a state of exogenous attention to one that is endogenous. Exogenous attention is what we use all day. It is our focus on the outside, the sudden sound of a phone, the movement of a bird outside the window, the brightness of a screen. It is an outward-facing guard, constantly scanning the environment for information and potential threats. But as you settle into the coolness of your pillow, that outward guard finally stands down. Your brain begins to shift its resources toward endogenous processing and internal attention. You are no longer looking at the world. You are looking into yourself. Your thoughts become less about what is happening to you and more about the quiet, abstract flow of your own consciousness. This shift isn't just a feeling, it can be measured with incredible precision. The very second you close your eyes and relax, your brain begins to produce alpha waves. In the busy hours of the day, your brain operates primarily on beta waves, fast, jagged electrical pulses that reflect an alert, logical, and sometimes stressed state of mind. But alpha waves are different. They are slower, more rhythmic, and more synchronized. They represent a state of relaxed wakefulness, a kind of natural, meditative baseline. Imagine these alpha waves as a gentle tide coming in. They wash over the regions of the brain that were most taxed during the day, the parts responsible for planning, for calculation, and for navigating the physical world. As these waves pulse through your cortex, they create a sense of calm and mental coordination. It is the brain's way of signaling that the external work is done, and the internal work can now begin. It is as if your brain has stopped trying to solve a complex puzzle and has instead decided to listen to a slow, steady drumbeat. This is the moment the night shift begins. We often think of closing our eyes as a passive act, like turning off a lamp and leaving a room empty. But in reality, it is the first active step in your brain's nightly housekeeping. By cutting off the constant stream of visual data, which accounts for a massive amount of the brain's processing power, you are giving your mind the signal it needs to begin its most important work. You are clearing the stage so the maintenance crew can come in. The brain uses this alpha state to bridge the gap between the logic of the day and the mystery of the night. It is a peaceful, necessary pause. As you continue to breathe slowly, notice how your thoughts might start to lose their rigid structure. You aren't quite asleep yet, but you are no longer fully anchored to the here and now. In this endogenous state, your imagination begins to bloom in small, subtle ways. Without the constraints of sight, your mind starts to play with colors, memories, and half-formed ideas. It is a soft internal theater where the audience and the performer are one and the same. You are drifting in that beautiful, hazy space where the conscious mind begins to unspool like a thread, letting go of its tension. This is the entrance to the first official stage of sleep, the quiet, dim hallway that leads deeper into the architecture of your rest. You are standing at the edge of the twilight zone, ready to step away from the shore of wakefulness and into the gentle current of the first sleep cycle. Now, you take that final step across the threshold and enter stage 1 of NREM sleep. This is often called the twilight zone of consciousness, a fragile, beautiful bridge between being here and being elsewhere. In this state, your brain waves begin to slow down even further, transitioning from those relaxed alpha waves into the even deeper, more rhythmic pulses known as theta waves. It is a shallow sea, but the water is warm, still, and incredibly inviting. If someone were to watch you in this quiet moment, they might notice a very specific physical change. Your eyes, hidden behind your lids, have begun to move in a slow, side-to-side, rolling motion. This isn't the frantic, darting movement of a dream that comes later in the night. It's more like the slow, heavy swing of a pendulum. These slow rolling eye movements are one of the first biological signs that you have officially left the shore of wakefulness. As this happens, your perception of your own body starts to distort in a gentle, hazy way. You might feel a peculiar sensation of weightlessness, as if the bed beneath you has dissolved and you are floating in a vast, dark, and silent space. Or, conversely, you might feel a heavy, pleasant sinking, as if you're being pulled deeper into the soft earth. This stage is remarkably brief, usually lasting only between 1 and 7 minutes. Because you are still so close to the surface of consciousness, your brain remains incredibly sensitive to the environment. A floorboard creaking in another room, or the distant, muffled hum of a car might be enough to startle you back to full alertness. In fact, if you were woken up during these few minutes, you might insist to anyone listening that you hadn't been asleep at all. You're in a state of half-light, where the mind is beginning to drift into its own stories, but the ears are still tethered to the world outside. During this delicate transition, you might experience a sudden, startling twitch, a sharp jolt that feels like a momentary electric spark, often accompanied by the sudden sensation of tripping or falling. This is known as a hypnic jerk. While it can feel a bit jarring, it is a perfectly natural and harmless phenomenon. As your heart rate drops and your muscles undergo a massive wave of relaxation, your brain occasionally misinterprets this sudden lack of muscle tension. It panics for a split second, thinking that you are actually falling through the air, and it sends a rapid, involuntary signal to your limbs to catch yourself. It is a primitive survival reflex, a protective misfire from a brain that is still learning how to let go of the day's tension. Think of the hypnic jerk as a final, gentle check-in from your nervous system, a way of making sure everything is safe before it allows you to descend further into the night. Once that moment passes, a profound and heavy stillness begins to settle over you. The startle reflex fades, and your brain realizes that the sensation of falling was just an illusion of deep relaxation. You are safe. You are supported. And now, the shallow waters of stage 1 begin to deepen and grow more rhythmic. The waiting room of the twilight zone is now behind you, and you are being pulled toward the more stable, structural work of stage 2. The world of logic and external sound is now a distant memory, and you are ready to sink into the steady, protective rhythm of a true, restorative sleep. As the physical body settles and the last echoes of the day's tension fade, something fascinating begins to happen behind your closed eyelids. You aren't just in the dark anymore. You might start to notice faint, swirling patterns of light or brief, nonsensical flashes of pictures that seem to appear out of nowhere. This is the arrival of hypnagogic imagery, the beautiful, strange, and fleeting visual theater that marks the true threshold of your journey into sleep. It is a state of half-dreaming, where the mind is no longer tethered to the physical world, but has not yet fully committed to the deep narratives of the night. In these moments, the brain's front office, the prefrontal cortex, which insists on logic, order, and things making sense, is starting to turn out the lights and go home. As this analytical part of you relaxes its grip, the rules of reality begin to soften and dissolve. You might see a fragment of a face you don't recognize, a vibrant geometric shape that pulses with color, or a mundane scene from your afternoon that suddenly morphs into something entirely different. A park bench might transform into a quiet boat on a lake. A simple conversation might dissolve into a series of abstract melodies. These aren't full dreams yet, but rather micro-dreams, short, vivid bursts of neural activity. Scientists believe these hypnagogic flashes are the brain's way of testing its internal creative engine. It is as if a theater troupe is warming up behind a heavy velvet curtain, checking the spotlights, moving the props, and stretching their limbs before the main performance begins. Without the constant stream of information coming in from your eyes and ears, the brain begins to play with its own vast library of images and memories. It is experimenting with new associations, firing neurons in unusual and creative patterns. Now that the constraints of the waking world have been lifted, it is a sign that your mind is becoming flexible, preparing to process the complexities of your life in a more fluid, imaginative way. Take a slow, quiet breath now, and if you notice these internal images appearing, simply let them drift by. There is no need to try to hold on to them, and no need to analyze what they mean. If a flash of color or a strange, silent scene floats across your mind's eye, imagine it is like a soft, wispy cloud moving across a vast night sky. You are merely the observer, lying still and comfortable, watching these clouds pass without any effort or intention. There is a profound peace in this passivity, the realization that you don't have to do anything to fall asleep. The process is happening all by itself, guided by the ancient wisdom of your nervous system. This kaleidoscope of the mind serves as the final bridge between the world you know and the deep rest you require. As these images become more fluid and less distinct, you are moving away from the light, fragmented imagery of the twilight zone. The micro-dreams are beginning to settle, and the visual sparks are fading into a deep, velvety silence. You are now descending into the more stable and structured environment of Stage 2 NREM sleep. The shimmering colors are giving way to a steady rhythmic state where the brain begins its most essential protective work of the night, sealing you away from the outside world and preparing your mind for the restorative hours ahead. As the last of those drifting images fade, you find yourself settling into a more substantial and steady state of rest. You have now officially entered Stage 2 of non-REM sleep. While the previous stage was a fleeting bridge, Stage 2 is the quiet room where you will spend the majority of your night. In fact, for most adults, about 50% of your total sleep time is lived right here, in this calm, intermediate space. It is a stage of maintenance and protection, a period where your body and brain begin to truly disconnect from the demands of the day. If we were to look at your brain waves on a monitor right now, we would see a fascinating change. The slow, rhythmic waves of relaxation are occasionally punctuated by sudden, rapid bursts of electrical activity. Scientists call these sleep spindles. On a brain scan, they look like tight, energetic zigzags appearing for just a second or two before the brain returns to its steady, slow pulse. The name itself, a spindle, evokes the image of an ancient weaver's tool, spinning threads of consciousness into a thick, protective fabric. These spindles are one of the most remarkable features of your sleeping brain. They are not random noise. They are highly purposeful. Researchers believe that these bursts of activity are the brain's way of silencing the outside world. Each spindle acts like a do not disturb sign hung on the door of your consciousness. They represent the brain actively blocking external sensory input from reaching the parts of the mind that would wake you up. The more sleep spindles your brain produces, the more soundly you sleep, and as your mind works to insulate you from the environment. When a sleep spindle occurs, your brain is essentially telling itself that the environment is safe and that any minor sounds or changes in the room can be ignored. It is a sophisticated internal shield. Knowing this allows for a deep sense of relief as you lie there. Your mind is not just passively off, it is actively guarding your peace. It is standing watch, filtering the silence and ensuring that your journey into deeper rest remains undisturbed. This mechanism creates a wonderful sense of insulation. You are becoming less a part of the room around you and more a part of the quiet world within. Your heart rate continues to slow, your muscles relax further, and your body temperature drops just a little more, signaling to every cell that the time for action has passed. You are held in a cocoon of neural activity, a space where the brain's primary goal is to keep you exactly where you are, safe, still, and asleep. This process of insulation is governed by a very specific part of your brain that acts as a sophisticated gatekeeper. Even as you drift deeper into this stage, this gatekeeper is deciding which whispers of the outside world are allowed to pass and which must be turned away. It is an intricate dance of biology that ensures you can rest through the small, harmless noises of the night. It is the reason why a distant car or a settling floorboard doesn't startle you, even though your ears are still technically hearing them. Have you ever wondered how it is that you can remain perfectly still and undisturbed while a floorboard creaks in the hallway or a car passes by your window with a low rhythmic hum? In the waking world, these sounds would immediately draw your attention. But as you settle into the second stage of sleep, your brain has developed a masterful way to curate your reality. This is the work of a small but incredibly powerful structure deep within the center of your brain called the thalamus. The thalamus is often described as the brain's grand central station, or its great gatekeeper. During the day, nearly every piece of sensory information, everything you see, hear, and feel must pass through this walnut-sized relay station before it is sent to the cerebral cortex to be processed into your conscious experience. It is the thalamus that allows you to focus on a conversation in a crowded room or feel the texture of a soft blanket against your skin. But as you drift deeper into sleep, the thalamus undergoes a profound shift in its responsibilities. It begins to close its gates. During this stage of rest, the thalamus effectively dampens the signals coming from the outside world. It acts as a physical barrier, preventing the electrical impulses from your ears and your skin from reaching the higher processing centers of the brain. While your ears are still physically detecting vibrations in the air, and your nerves are still sensing the weight of the duvet, the thalamus decides that these messages are not important enough to wake you. It quarantines the noise, keeping the thinking part of your brain in a state of blissful ignorance. This is the biological foundation of your peace. However, the thalamus is not just a simple wall. It is a sophisticated and intelligent filter. This leads to one of the most fascinating paradoxes of sleep. How is it that a person can sleep through a loud, crashing thunderstorm, yet wake up instantly at the sound of a baby's soft whimper or the mention of their own name? This is because your brain remains remarkably vigilant, even in its most quiet moments. The thalamus and its surrounding networks are constantly performing a salience check on the environment. It evaluates every sound for its emotional or survival significance. If a sound is deemed safe, like the steady rhythm of rain or the familiar hum of a fan, the gates remain shut. But if a sound is identified as meaningful or potentially urgent, the thalamus flings the gates open, sending an immediate alert to the cortex that jolts you into wakefulness. This incredible ability to filter for safety while you rest is a gift from our ancestors, a survival mechanism that allowed them to sleep in the wild while remaining ready to react to a sudden threat. It ensures that while you are resting, you are never truly vulnerable. Knowing that your brain is performing this high-level security work allows you to let go even further. You don't have to worry about the sounds of the house or the world outside, because your internal gatekeeper is on duty, standing watch over your tranquility. You can feel the tension leaving your shoulders and your jaw, trusting that your mind will only call you back if it is truly necessary. As the thalamus continues to guard the entrance to your consciousness, the electrical activity of your brain begins to slow down even more. The burst of sleep spindles become less frequent, and the rhythm of your mind starts to stretch out, becoming longer, deeper, and more synchronized. You are leaving the lighter, transitional phases of the night behind. The air feels a little cooler, your body feels a little heavier, and you are now prepared to descend into the most restorative, profound part of the entire sleep cycle. You are moving toward the deep, quiet waters of stage 3, the state where the body truly begins its most important work of healing and renewal. As you sink deeper, the world of the surface disappears entirely. You have now entered stage 3, often referred to by scientists as slow-wave sleep. This is the basement of consciousness, the most profound and difficult stage of the night to wake from. If the earlier stages of your journey were like the gentle ripples on the surface of a lake, stage 3 is the still, heavy pressure of the deep water far below. Here, the frantic electrical chatter of your waking mind has been replaced by something majestic and powerful: delta waves. These are the slowest, highest amplitude brain waves we experience. Imagine them not as sharp sparks of thought, but as long rhythmic pulses of energy that travel across the entire cortex in a slow, coordinated dance. It is as if the billions of neurons in your head have decided to stop their individual conversations and instead begin singing one single, low, resonant note in perfect unison. This synchronization is a sign of total relaxation, a state where the brain is no longer processing the outside world, but is instead turning all of its focus inward. In this state of deep synchronization, your physical body undergoes a remarkable transformation. Your heart rate slows to its lowest point of the entire 24-hour cycle. Your blood pressure drops, and your breathing becomes deep, regular, and incredibly efficient. Every muscle in your body is now completely relaxed, draped in a heavy, comfortable stillness. This is the body's most energy-efficient state, a period of total physiological surrender where your systems are idling at their most peaceful frequency. Take a moment now to feel that rhythm within yourself. Imagine those slow delta waves as a gentle rolling tide in a vast dark ocean. As the wave slowly rises, take a soft, easy breath in. And as the wave crests and begins its long, slow descent, let that breath out, in and out. The pace is unhurried. There is no rush here. In the deep of stage 3, time seems to stretch and slow down, matching the steady, peaceful beat of your heart. You are perfectly safe. You are perfectly still. While this looks like a state of total inactivity from the outside, the slow, rhythmic pulsing of these delta waves is actually the signal for a massive internal operation to begin. This stillness is the necessary condition for your body to perform its most vital maintenance. It is in this profound quiet that the brain begins to look after itself in a way it simply cannot do while you are awake. The very structure of your brain is about to change, just slightly, to make room for a deep, restorative cleansing process that is unique to this stage of the night. A secret plumbing system that only activates when the rest of the world has been shut out. As you rest in this deep, quiet valley of sleep, your brain is engaging in a process so elegant and vital that scientists only recently began to fully understand it. We call this the glymphatic system. Think of it as a secret, internal plumbing network that stays dormant during the day, waiting for the precise moment you enter this deep stage 3 rest to switch on its pumps. It is one of the most important reasons we sleep, a nightly ritual of purification that keeps the mind resilient and clear. While you are awake, your brain is like a bustling, vibrant city. Billions of neurons are firing, processing every thought, every sight, and every sound you encounter. This activity is beautiful, but like any busy city, it creates a byproduct, a kind of metabolic exhaust or cellular debris. One of these waste products is a tiny fragment of protein called beta amyloid. If this material were allowed to pile up day after day, it would eventually clutter the delicate pathways of your mind, making it harder for your thoughts to travel and your memories to form. But now, in the profound stillness of the night, your brain cells do something truly extraordinary. As the delta waves pulse through the cortex, the cells themselves begin to shrink. It is as if the buildings of that busy city are pulling back their walls to widen the streets. Research has shown that during deep sleep, the space between your brain cells increases by as much as 60%. This creates wide, clear channels that simply do not exist while you are awake. With these channels open, a clear, life-sustaining liquid called cerebrospinal fluid begins to surge through the gaps. It doesn't move with a violent rush, but with a gentle, rhythmic pulse, perfectly timed with your slow breathing and the steady beat of your heart. Imagine this fluid as a cool, clear mountain stream flowing through every nook and cranny of your brain's intricate architecture. As it flows, it picks up the day's accumulated waste, those protein fragments and metabolic leftovers, and carries them away to be filtered and cleared by the body. Visualizing this can be incredibly soothing as you drift deeper into your pillow. Imagine your mind as a beautiful, intricate garden. Throughout the day, a light dust has settled over the leaves and the flowers. Now, in the deep of the night, a soft, refreshing rain begins to fall. It isn't a storm. It's a gentle, persistent mist that washes every petal and every stem, carrying the dust down into the earth, leaving everything bright, clean, and renewed. You can almost feel the coolness of it, the mental clarity that is being prepared for you while you sleep. By the time the sun rises, your brain will have been thoroughly rinsed and refreshed. This nightly brainwash is why you wake up feeling mentally sharp, as if the heavy fog of the previous evening has been lifted. Your thoughts will have a clear, open path to travel, because the debris has been cleared away, leaving your neural landscape pristine and ready for a brand new day of discovery. But the work of stage 3 doesn't stop with this internal cleansing. While the glymphatic system is busy polishing the mind, the rest of your body is beginning its own grand project of restoration. The silence and the deep, slow rhythm of your breathing act as a signal to your endocrine system that the coast is clear. It is time to move from cleaning to construction, shifting the focus from the brain's plumbing to the very fabric of your physical self. While the cooling waters of the glymphatic system refresh your mind, your physical body enters what can only be described as a grand reconstruction phase. As you lie there, perfectly still and heavy against your mattress, your body is actually busier than it has been at any other point during the day. Think of this stage of sleep not as a period of inactivity, but as an invisible workshop where every tool is being used to mend, reinforce, and renew the very fabric of your being. At the base of your brain, a tiny pea-sized organ called the pituitary gland has been waiting for the signal of those deep, rhythmic delta waves. Once it detects that you have settled into the profound depths of stage 3 sleep, it releases a massive surge of human growth hormone into your bloodstream. While we often associate this hormone with the rapid growth of childhood, in adulthood, it serves a different, equally vital purpose. It is the master key to physical restoration. This hormone travels through your veins like a quiet team of expert craftsmen, seeking out the areas of your body that need attention. It mends the microscopic tears in your muscles caused by the day's movements. It replenishes the proteins that give your skin its elasticity, and it ensures that your bones remain strong and resilient. Your immune system also takes full advantage of this stillness. While you are tucked away from the world, your body is hard at work, producing and releasing cytokines. These are specialized proteins that act as the messengers and protectors of your internal defense system. Some of these cytokines are specifically designed to promote sleep, creating a beautiful, self-sustaining loop that keeps you in this restorative state. Others are targeted at fighting off inflammation and potential infections. This is why, when we feel a cold coming on, our bodies crave sleep so intensely. It is the only time the immune system has the full resources it needs to manufacture its defenses and prepare for the challenges of the coming day. It is a comforting thought to realize that sleep is never lost time. In our busy world, we are often told that sleep is a luxury or a pause in our productivity. But science tells us the exact opposite. This hour of deep sleep is perhaps the most productive hour of your entire 24-hour cycle. While your conscious mind is elsewhere, your body is performing a miracle of maintenance. It is an investment in your longevity, your strength, and your vitality. Every minute spent in this deep, quiet state is a minute spent building a healthier, more capable version of yourself. As we finalize this deep NREM cycle, the foundation of your physical health has been reinforced. Your cells are mended, your defenses are bolstered, and your internal architecture is once again sturdy and sound. You can feel a sense of profound peace in this knowledge that you are being cared for by your own biological processes. Your body knows exactly what to do, and as you continue to drift, the heavy, slow work of physical repair begins to shift. The deep rhythmic pulses of the body are preparing to give way to a different kind of harmony as the brain begins to organize its many parts into a single, unified song. As you settle deeper into this profound stillness, something extraordinary begins to happen within the landscape of your mind. It is a phenomenon that scientists are still working to fully understand, a mystery of timing and collective effort called brainwave synchronization. When you are awake, your brain is like a bustling, vibrant city. Millions of individual neurons are firing at different times, engaged in millions of different conversations. It is a productive sort of chaos, a frantic hum of activity as you navigate the sights, sounds, and demands of the world. But as you reach the deepest parts of your rest, this chaotic buzz begins to transform into a grand, slow-motion choreography. Imagine a vast choir where thousands of voices have been singing different songs in different languages. Then suddenly, a silent signal is given, and every single voice begins to sing the same deep, resonant note in perfect unison. This is what happens to your brain during the deepest stages of sleep. The billions of neurons in your cortex begin to pulse together, creating those long, slow delta waves we spoke of earlier. This is not just a passive state. It is a highly coordinated act of biological harmony. Scientists have observed that during this time, the brain enters what they call global coherence. It is as if the different regions of your mind, which usually work on their own specialized tasks, decide to join hands and breathe as one. This synchronization is essential because it allows the brain to communicate with itself across vast distances. In the frantic light of day, the front of your brain might be too busy to truly listen to the back. The left hemisphere might be too occupied with logic to hear the creative whispers of the right. But in this deep, synchronized state, the barriers fall away. These slow, powerful pulses act like a bridge, allowing information to flow freely from the deep emotional centers of the brain up to the higher thinking areas. It is a vital period of internal networking. This long-distance communication ensures that your brain remains a unified organ rather than a collection of disconnected parts. It is the process that allows you to feel like a whole integrated person when you open your eyes in the morning. There is a profound sense of peace in this concept. The idea of your brain becoming a unified, harmonious instrument. Think of it as a deep, resonant bell that has been struck, sending a single, pure vibration through every fiber of its being. In this state, there is no conflict, no distraction, and no noise. There is only the rhythm. This is the moment where your mind is at its most stable, most secure, and most protected. You are tucked away in a fortress of your own making, where every cell is working in total agreement to preserve your well-being. Take a slow, gentle breath and imagine that rhythmic pulse moving through you. It is a steady, reliable heartbeat for your mind, clearing away the fragments of the day and replacing them with a sense of structural integrity. You are a singular, unified being, resting in the quiet strength of this internal harmony. However, the night is a journey of many stages, and this period of deep rhythmic silence is about to shift. The heavy, slow pulses of the NREM cycle have finished their work of physical repair and structural unification. The atmosphere within your mind is beginning to change. The slow waves are starting to break apart, replaced by a sudden flickering energy. The stillness of the deep forest is giving way to something more active, more mysterious, and more vivid. You are moving away from the quiet architecture of deep sleep and toward a state that seems to defy the very definition of rest. A place where the mind wakes up even as the body remains fast asleep. The deep rhythmic waves of your slow wave sleep begin to dissipate, like ripples on a pond finally settling into a new pattern. But instead of returning to the surface of wakefulness, a different kind of energy begins to stir within the quiet corridors of your mind. This is the arrival of REM sleep, rapid eye movement. It is one of the most fascinating and mysterious frontiers of human biology, a state that scientists often call paradoxical sleep, and for a very good reason. If someone were to look at the electrical patterns of your brain right now, they would be genuinely surprised. They wouldn't see the slow, heavy, synchronized pulses of deep rest that we just explored. Instead, they would see a flurry of fast, low-voltage activity. In fact, your brain waves during REM look almost identical to the way they look when you are wide awake, alert, and fully engaged with the world around you. It is a strange and beautiful contradiction, a body that is profoundly at rest, containing a mind that is suddenly, vibrantly, and intensely alive. Your heart rate, which was so slow and steady during the deep stages of the night, may begin to fluctuate, rising and falling in response to internal signals. Your breathing might become a bit more shallow or slightly irregular. And most famously, behind your closed eyelids, your eyes begin to dart back and forth with quick, jerky movements. It is as if you are watching a vivid, fast-paced play unfold on a private stage that only you can see. You are no longer just resting. You are experiencing. This stage of sleep is not a single, static event, but a recurring destination that changes as the night unfolds. During your very first 90-minute cycle of the night, the REM period is quite short, perhaps lasting only 5 or 10 minutes, a brief experimental dip into the world of internal activity. However, as the night progresses and the earth turns slowly toward the dawn, these REM cycles begin to stretch and grow. By the early hours of the morning, you may spend 30 minutes or more in this vivid state during a single cycle. This is why your most memorable, complex, and story-like dreams often occur in the hour or two before you finally open your eyes to the morning light. The brain is spending more and more of its time in this active, internal theater as your rest nears its completion. But this brings us to a compelling question, a small mystery to ponder as you lie there in the dark. Why would nature design a system where the brain wakes up so intensely while we are still meant to be sleeping? Why would the mind expend so much energy firing off signals and lighting up various regions when the primary goal of the night is recovery? It seems like a daring risk to have the mind so active and the imagination so untethered while the senses are still closed off from the outside world. There is a profound evolutionary purpose behind this mental wakefulness. It is as if the brain, having finished the heavy lifting of physical repair and cellular cleaning, now turns its attention to the complex, shimmering architecture of the mind itself. It is a time for integration, for creativity, and for emotional balancing. But to perform this intense mental work safely, the brain has had to develop a truly brilliant mechanism. Because the mind is so active, perhaps dreaming of walking, speaking, or moving through impossible landscapes, the body must be kept in a very specific state to ensure your physical safety. As the mind begins its most active journey of the night, a silent, protective shield is about to descend over your physical form. This protective shield has a scientific name: muscle atonia. It is a natural state of temporary paralysis that occurs every time you enter REM sleep. And while the word paralysis might sound intense, in the context of a peaceful night, it is actually one of the most profound acts of care your brain performs for you. Imagine a gentle, invisible blanket being tucked around every muscle in your body, from the tips of your toes to the hinge of your jaw. It is a deep, heavy relaxation that ensures your physical form stays exactly where it belongs. This process is managed deep within the brainstem, the ancient, sturdy part of your mind that handles your most basic life functions. As the brain transitions into the active state of REM, the brainstem sends out a specific signal. This signal effectively silences the motor neurons, which are the pathways that tell your muscles to move. It is a quiet, rhythmic command to let go completely. Because of muscle atonia, your voluntary muscles, the ones you use to walk, reach, and peak, become wonderfully limp and still. Only the essential muscles, like those that control your breathing and the rapid movements of your eyes, remain active. This is a beautiful protective evolution designed to keep you safe in your bed. Think of the vivid journeys your mind takes while you dream. You might find yourself running through a field of tall grass, climbing a winding staircase, or reaching out to catch something in the air. Without this natural off switch for your muscles, your physical body would try to mimic those actions. You would kick, reach, and move in response to the images in your mind. Muscle atonia acts as a safeguard, a way for the brain to keep the body anchored in reality while the spirit wanders through the landscape of a dream. It is nature's way of ensuring that your rest remains undisturbed and that you remain cocooned in the safety of your blankets. Take a moment now to feel that stillness in your own limbs. Notice the weight of your arms resting beside you, and the way your legs feel heavy and supported by the mattress beneath you. There is a deep comfort in this lack of tension. You don't need to move, you don't need to hold yourself up. The earth and your bed are doing all the work of supporting you. You're free to be completely still, knowing that your brain is standing guard, keeping your body quiet and secure. With the body now safely anchored in this state of profound relaxation, the mind is granted a unique and total freedom. It no longer needs to process the position of your limbs or the tension in your back. It can turn its full attention inward to the private theater of the imagination. And here, in the quiet darkness of the room, a light begins to flicker on. Not a light from the sun or a lamp, but a vivid internal glow that marks the beginning of a truly remarkable visual journey. As your eyelids remain heavy and closed, a private cinema begins to open its doors. This is the visual theater of the mind, a place where the darkness of the room is replaced by a kaleidoscope of shimmering images and vivid landscapes. Even though you are resting in a world of shadows, your brain is preparing to see more clearly than it did during the brightest hours of the day. This stage of the night is not about darkness. It is about an explosion of internal light. In the back of your brain lies the visual cortex, the sophisticated processing center that usually deciphers the light entering your eyes. During the day, it works tirelessly to translate the world around you, the color of the sky, the faces of loved ones, the text on a page. But during REM sleep, something extraordinary happens. This same visual cortex flares into life with a level of activity that rivals and sometimes exceeds its waking state. However, the input isn't coming from the outside world. The windows are shuttered and the curtains are drawn. Scientists have discovered that during this phase, the brain generates its own electrical signals. These pulses travel from the brainstem through a relay station called the thalamus and strike the visual cortex with the same intensity as real sunlight. To your brain, there is no functional difference between the light reflecting off a real flower and the electrical signal representing a flower in a dream. It processes these internal signals as if they were real seeing. Your neurons fire in the same patterns, creating colors that are just as saturated and shapes that are just as sharp as anything you might encounter in the physical world. This reveals a profound truth about our biology. Dreaming is quite literally a form of vision without light. It is the purest expression of the mind's ability to create a reality from within. You are not just thinking about a story, you are witnessing it. You might see the intricate patterns of a butterfly's wing or the vast swirling clouds of a distant planet, all rendered in perfect detail by a brain that is currently blind to the room around it. This internal vision is so convincing because the brain uses the same neural pathways for dreaming as it does for waking perception. If you see a bright red apple in a dream, the part of your brain that identifies the color red is physically active, vibrating with the same energy it would use in a grocery store at noon. It is a comforting thought to know that even in the deepest stillness of the night, your mind remains a vibrant, creative artist. It takes the fragments of your memories and the whispers of your imagination and weaves them into a tapestry of sight. You are a spectator in a world of your own making, watching a performance that is staged specifically for you. Yet, as these images begin to swirl and take shape, you may notice something peculiar about this inner theater. In the world of the waking, things follow a predictable order. Objects stay in place, and the laws of physics are reliable. But in this dream vision, the rules seem to soften. A house might suddenly have a door that leads to a forest, or a person's face might shift into someone else's without a moment's hesitation. This brings us to a fascinating mystery. Why is it that while we are seeing these impossible things, we don't find them strange? Why does the mind accept the most illogical visual leaps as if they were perfectly normal? This curious acceptance of the impossible is what scientists often call the logic gap. When you're awake, your mind is a master of critique. If you saw a tree in your garden suddenly turn into a giant iridescent bird, you would stop and question your reality immediately. Your heart might race, and you would look for a logical explanation. But in a dream, you simply watch the bird fly away, perhaps noticing the shimmer of its feathers, but never once doubting the physics of the transformation. You accept the most bizarre sequences of events as if they were as mundane as pouring a glass of water. The reason for this lies in a specific part of your brain located right behind your forehead, the prefrontal cortex. During your waking hours, this area is the seat of your logic, your impulse control, and your ability to plan. It is the executive of the brain, the part of you that understands cause and effect and keeps your thoughts organized and rational. However, as you enter the vivid world of REM sleep, while the visual centers of your brain are lighting up like a city at night, the prefrontal cortex does something remarkable. It almost completely powers down. It goes quiet, entering a state of temporary dormancy. With the logical editor of the brain away on break, the boundaries of what is possible simply dissolve. This deactivation is not a flaw. It is a profound biological gift. Without the constant interruption of a voice saying, "That doesn't make sense," or "That shouldn't happen," your brain is free to make wild, creative associations that would never occur to you during the day. It can link a childhood memory of a specific scent with a conversation you had this afternoon, or merge the face of a friend with a landscape from a book you read years ago. This is why dreams often feel like a surrealist painting, vivid, emotional, and entirely unconstrained by the laws of the physical world. In this state, your brain is not limited by what is real, but only by what it can imagine. In this quiet, judgment-free zone, your mind becomes a laboratory of pure, uninhibited imagination. You are allowed to explore feelings, scenarios, and connections without the weight of social expectation or the limits of gravity. It is a time for the brain to be playful, to experiment with what if, in a way that is entirely safe and private. You can drift through these scenes like a leaf on a gentle stream, knowing that your mind is simply exercising its ancient, creative muscles, weaving together the disparate threads of your life into something entirely new. But while this internal theater is busy showing its strange and beautiful films, another, quieter process is happening simultaneously beneath the surface. Beneath the vivid imagery and the illogical leaps of the dream state, the brain is also performing a very practical, essential duty. It is beginning to step away from the pure experience of the night to focus on the heavy lifting of organization. Just as a grand library might be cleaned and reorganized while the patrons are away, your brain is preparing to transition from the experience of sleep into the vital, structured work of memory. Imagine, if you will, that your brain is a dedicated librarian working in the quietest hours of the night. During the day, your mind is like a bustling public library with information arriving at the front desk every second. Thousands of books, sights, sounds, conversations, and feelings are piled high on the counters, waiting to be sorted. If the library never closed, if the librarian never had a moment of peace to organize these stacks, the building would soon become a chaotic maze of unsorted papers. But as you sleep, the doors are locked, the lights are dimmed, and the real work of memory consolidation begins. This librarian is incredibly precise. Your brain recognizes that not all memories are created equal, so it categorizes them into two main collections. The first is what scientists call declarative memory. This is the what of your life. It includes the facts you learned today, the name of the person you met at the grocery store, or the specific details of a news article you read. It is the information you can consciously recall and declare to be true. These are the records of your conscious experiences, the data points that make up your knowledge of the world. The second collection is procedural memory, which is the how of your life. This is the memory of skills and physical movements. When you practice a new chord on a guitar, learn a new dance step, or even refine the way you swing a tennis racket, you are building procedural memories. These aren't stored as facts, but as patterns of movement and timing etched into your nervous system. They are the memories that your body knows even when your conscious mind isn't thinking about them. What is truly fascinating is that your brain doesn't process these different types of memories all at once. It uses the various stages of your sleep cycle to specialize in different tasks, ensuring each type of information gets the specific attention it requires. During the deep, slow wave sleep of the early night, your librarian focuses heavily on your declarative memories, strengthening those facts and figures, reinforcing the connections so they are ready for you in the morning. Later, during the active, vivid REM stages we just explored, the brain shifts its focus toward procedural and emotional memories, weaving your new skills and complex experiences into the fabric of who you are. As this sorting process unfolds, the brain must make difficult decisions. It is not a hoarder of information. It is a master editor. It looks at the vast mountain of data from your day and asks, what is truly important? It evaluates which details are worth keeping for a lifetime and which can be safely discarded. It might decide that the color of a random car that passed you on the street or the specific price of a mundane item is a detail you no longer need, allowing that memory to fade away into the shadows. By letting go of the trivial, the brain creates space for the meaningful. It is a constant, delicate balance, a nightly ritual of deciding what defines your history and what can be released, ensuring that when you wake, your mental library is organized, efficient, and ready for a brand new day of discovery. This process of pruning and preserving is what allows you to learn from your past without being overwhelmed by every single second of it. And to do this work effectively, the librarian relies on a very specific part of the brain to act as its temporary intake folder, a place where the day's events are held before they are moved into the permanent archives. Deep within the folds of your brain, tucked away like a precious secret, lies a small curved structure called the hippocampus. Its name comes from the ancient Greek word for seahorse, a nod to its elegant, sweeping shape. This little seahorse is the brain's primary inbox. Throughout your waking hours, the hippocampus is incredibly busy. It acts as a temporary storage unit, capturing the sights, sounds, and emotions of your day as they happen. Think of it as a high-speed recording device that never stops. Every new person you met today, every task you performed, and even the small, fleeting thoughts you had were first written down here in this delicate, temporary space. But the hippocampus is not designed to hold on to these memories forever. It is a transit station, not a final destination. It has a limited capacity, much like a notepad with only so many pages. If it tried to keep everything, it would quickly become overwhelmed, leaving no room for the new experiences of tomorrow. This is why sleep is so vital to your story. While you are resting, while your breath is slow and your body is completely still, the hippocampus begins its most important work. It starts to replay the day's events. What is truly remarkable is that it doesn't do this at normal speed. Scientific studies have revealed that during certain stages of sleep, the brain replays the neural patterns of the day's experiences at incredible speeds, sometimes 10 or 20 times faster than they actually occurred. It is as if your brain is reviewing the highlights of your day on a high-speed reel, playing them over and over again in the quiet of the night. This isn't just a random occurrence. It is a purposeful rehearsal. By repeating these patterns so rapidly, the hippocampus is effectively teaching the rest of the brain what happened. It is strengthening the neural connections, making the memories more durable and clear. There is a profound sense of peace in knowing that this is happening right now. You do not have to exert any effort to preserve your life's journey. You don't have to worry about forgetting the meaningful moments of your afternoon or the lessons you learned this morning. Your brain is a faithful guardian of your history. It is carefully taking those fragile, temporary notes from the hippocampus and preparing them for a more permanent home. It is a nightly ritual of archiving, ensuring that the essence of who you are is kept safe while you dream. As you drift deeper into this state of relaxation, you can imagine this internal inbox slowly clearing, its work almost complete. The data is being packaged, refined, and made ready for the next step of the journey. The memories are beginning to migrate, moving out of the small, busy hippocampus and toward the vast, intricate landscape of the brain's outer layer, the neocortex. This is where your temporary experiences will be transformed into the permanent architecture of your mind, a transition that turns a single day's events into a lifetime of wisdom. As these memories begin their migration, they are moving toward the neocortex, the vast, wrinkled outer layer of the brain that serves as your biological long-term hard drive. If the hippocampus is a small, temporary notebook, the neocortex is an ancient library with infinite shelves stretching out into the quiet corners of your mind. This movement of information is not a simple one-way transfer. It is a sophisticated, nightly dialogue between two different worlds within your consciousness. While you are submerged in the stillness of deep sleep, these two regions of the brain engage in a rhythmic conversation, communicating through synchronized electrical pulses that ripple across the landscape of your thoughts. Scientists have observed this dialogue as a series of slow-wave oscillations. It is as if the hippocampus is whispering the day's events to the neocortex, and the neocortex is responding, nodding in agreement, and weaving these new threads into the existing tapestry of your life. This process is far more complex than simply copying a digital file from one folder to another. It is an act of profound integration. Your brain doesn't just want to store what happened today, it wants to understand how today relates to yesterday, to last year, and to every experience you have ever had. When a new memory arrives in the neocortex, it is carefully compared and contrasted with older memories. If you learned a new skill today, or perhaps a new word, your brain looks for similar patterns from things you learned years ago. This is the biological foundation of what we call wisdom. Wisdom is not merely a collection of isolated facts. It is the ability to see the connections between those facts. It is the realization that a lesson learned in one area of life can be applied to another. By the time the sun rises, the experiences of your day will no longer be lonely, fleeting moments. They will have been integrated into the larger, interconnected story of who you are, strengthening the architecture of your identity. Take a slow, deep breath now, and as you exhale, feel the quiet weight of this internal work. There is something deeply reassuring about the idea that while you are at your most vulnerable and still your brain is at its most diligent, building the library of your soul, you are becoming wiser simply by resting. You are growing more capable just by letting go. Every breath you take is a moment where your mind is refining itself, choosing which parts of your journey are precious enough to be kept for a lifetime. However, even a library as vast as the neocortex cannot hold every single detail of every single second. Just as a gardener must prune a tree to help it grow stronger, your brain must also decide what is no longer needed. This transition from storing to sorting is a vital part of the night's architecture. As the important wiggles find their permanent homes in the neocortex, the brain begins a process of refinement, a quiet, necessary clearing of the clutter known as synaptic pruning. It is the delicate art of knowing what to remember, and more importantly, the grace of knowing what to forget. We often think of a perfect memory as a vast, unchanging archive where every single moment is preserved in high definition. We tend to view forgetting as a failure, a small crack in the vessel of our minds. But as you drift deeper into the quiet of the night, your brain is proving that the opposite is true. Forgetting is not a flaw. It is a vital, sophisticated necessity. It is the silent partner of learning. Without the ability to let go of the trivial, our minds would become so cluttered with noise that we would eventually lose the ability to see the signal. This essential housekeeping is known as synaptic pruning. To understand it, imagine your brain as a lush, sprawling garden. Throughout the day, as you move through the world, your brain is constantly planting new seeds. Every face you pass on the street, every fleeting headline you glance at, and every minor detail of the weather creates a new connection or a synapse between your neurons. By the time the sun sets, your neural garden is overgrown with thousands of tiny new sprouts. Some of these are beautiful flowers, important lessons, or precious memories, but many are simply weeds, information that has no lasting value to your life. If your brain tried to keep every single one of these connections, the energy required to maintain them would be overwhelming. Scientists believe that if we remembered every detail, the license plate of every car that drove past us, the exact shade of every stranger's coat, or the specific number of steps we took to reach the mailbox, our conscious minds would be paralyzed by the sheer volume of data. We would be unable to make decisions or find the information that actually matters. We would be lost in a fog of irrelevant facts. And so, while you rest, the brain performs a delicate act of downscaling. During sleep, specifically during the quiet oscillations of non-REM stages, the brain systematically weakens the synapses that weren't reinforced by attention or importance during the day. It is as if a gentle gardener is walking through your mind, identifying the weak, spindly sprouts that don't belong and carefully removing them. This process ensures that the brain's limited resources are saved for the connections that are strong, meaningful, and useful. This pruning is what allows you to wake up feeling mentally refreshed and clear-headed. It is the reason why a problem that felt insurmountable yesterday morning often feels more manageable after a night of sleep. Your brain has cleared away the peripheral distractions, leaving only the core of the issue visible. You are not losing your past, you are refining it. You are sculpting your mind, carving away the marble that isn't part of the statue. Feel the lightness that comes with this realization. You don't have to carry the weight of the entire day into tomorrow. Your brain is graciously deciding what is worth keeping, allowing the rest to dissolve into the shadows of the night. This internal clearing creates a spaciousness within you, an unburdened territory where new thoughts can breathe. As your mind finishes this work of sorting through the cold, hard data of the day, the names, the numbers, and the trivial facts, it begins to turn its attention toward something much more complex. The brain has organized your information, but now it must organize your heart. For the night is not just about facts, it is about feelings. Having cleared the clutter of the external world, your mind now prepares to enter a deeper, more mysterious realm where it can begin to process the weight of your emotions in the safe, chemical sanctuary of your dreams. Beyond the sorting of facts and the pruning of trivial data, your brain performs a service that is perhaps even more vital to your well-being. It acts as a kind of overnight therapist, a silent counselor that works through the complexities of your heart while your body remains still. This is the profound emotional work of REM sleep, a process that scientists often call overnight therapy. Think back to the events of your day. Perhaps there was a moment of frustration at work, a sharp word exchange with a loved one, or a lingering sense of anxiety about a future event. These experiences aren't just data. They are wrapped in emotional charges that can feel heavy and sharp. If we carried the full weight of every emotional sting with us indefinitely, the burden would eventually become too much to bear. To manage this, the brain utilizes a remarkable biological loophole during your dreams. Deep within your temporal lobes sits the amygdala, a small almond-shaped structure that serves as the brain's emotional command center. The amygdala is responsible for processing primary emotions like fear and anger. During REM sleep, this area becomes highly active, sometimes even more active than when you are awake. It is as if the amygdala is replaying the emotional highlights of your day, reviewing the tapes of your experiences. However, the brain does something ingenious to ensure this review doesn't overwhelm you. During this specific stage of sleep, your brain creates a unique chemical environment that exists at no other time. It is the only time in your entire life, from the moment you are born until your final breath, that your brain is completely free of a molecule called noradrenaline. Noradrenaline is the brain's version of adrenaline. It is a stress chemical, the one responsible for the fight or flight response. It makes your heart race, your breath shallow, and your mind alert to danger. By completely shutting off the production of noradrenaline during REM sleep, the brain creates a chemical-free safe zone. In this sanctuary of the mind, your amygdala can process difficult, fearful, or upsetting memories without the physical sting of stress. You are able to revisit the emotional content of your life in a state of absolute physiological calm. It is like looking at a photograph of a fire rather than standing in the heat of the flames. You can see the fire, you can understand its shape and its power, but it cannot burn you. This process allows the brain to strip the emotional bark off of your memories. It separates the information of what happened from the painful feeling of the event itself. This is why a problem that feels like a catastrophe at 10 o'clock at night often feels like a manageable challenge by 8 o'clock the next morning. You haven't forgotten what happened, but your brain has successfully filed the event away without the jagged edges of distress. As you lie here, breathing slowly and deeply, this emotional first aid is likely already beginning its work. Your brain is gently bathing your experiences in a soothing chemical bath, softening the highs and lows of the day into a steady, peaceful narrative. It is resolving the tensions you didn't even know you were holding, ensuring that you wake up with an emotional clean slate. And as the heat is taken out of these memories, something else begins to happen. With the emotional noise quieted, the brain becomes free to look at your experiences in a new light. It begins to look for connections it missed during the frantic pace of the day. By smoothing over the emotional bumps, the mind paves the way for a different kind of processing, one that doesn't just heal the heart, but also enlightens the mind. This quiet, chemical-free reflection is the foundation for those sudden aha moments, where the solutions to our most stubborn problems finally begin to drift into view. We have all heard the advice to sleep on it when we are faced with a difficult decision or a stubborn obstacle. While it may sound like a simple platitude, this phrase is actually rooted in a profound biological truth. When you sleep, you aren't just turning the world off. You're handing the puzzle over to a much more creative version of yourself. Your brain is not merely idling. It is a master problem solver, working through the night to find the patterns that your waking mind might have missed. In the waking world, our thinking is often rigid and linear. We follow the well-worn paths of logic and habit, constrained by the immediate demands of our environment. But in the fluid landscape of REM sleep, those boundaries dissolve. Because the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that enforces strict logic, is dialed down, the brain becomes free to engage in a process of radical association. It begins to scan through the vast library of your memories, pulling a book from one shelf and a scrap of paper from another, looking for the hidden thread that connects them. It experiments with what-if scenarios that your waking mind would dismiss as nonsensical. It might take a technical problem you encountered today and pair it with a melody you heard years ago, or a conversation you had with a stranger, or a physical sensation from childhood. It is looking for similarities in structure, tone, and outcome. It is searching for the common denominator in your experiences. And yet, it is precisely this lack of judgment and this willingness to explore the impossible that allows the breakthrough to emerge. Scientific research has illustrated this power beautifully. In studies where participants were given complex puzzles involving hidden rules or mathematical shortcuts, those who were allowed to enter a full period of REM sleep before being tested again were 3 times more likely to experience a sudden moment of insight. They didn't just remember the puzzle better, they understood it more deeply. Their brains had decoded the underlying pattern while they were lost in the world of dreams, presenting the answer as a finished gift upon waking. This is the incredible quiet gift of your nightly rest. You do not need to stay awake to force a solution. In fact, the harder you try to grasp it with your conscious, exhausted mind, the more elusive it often becomes. By letting go, by surrendering to the softness of your pillow and the rhythm of your breath, you are giving your brain the freedom it needs to do its best work. You are allowing the night shift to take over, trusting in an intelligence that has been refined over millions of years of evolution. Think of your mind right now as a master weaver, working in the dark to repair the snags in the fabric of your day. It is sorting, testing, and building bridges between distant islands of thought. You can trust this process. You can rest in the absolute knowledge that while you are drifting through these gentle waves of sleep, your mind is actively working to make tomorrow a little bit clearer, a little bit more manageable. And this internal work goes beyond just facts, figures, and puzzles. It extends into the very way we interact with the world and the people around us. Just as the brain rehearses the solution to a riddle, it also begins to rehearse the complexities of life itself. It creates a safe internal space where we can practice for the social and physical world, preparing us for the challenges we will step back into when the sun eventually rises. Imagine for a moment a pilot sitting in a flight simulator. The cockpit is dark, the controls are familiar, and the windows are replaced by screens that mimic the sky, the clouds, and the sudden shifts in weather. Inside this machine, the pilot can practice difficult maneuvers, navigate through storms, and respond to unexpected challenges, all without ever leaving the ground. It is a space for learning where the stakes are zero, but the experience gained is profoundly real. This is exactly what your brain is doing for you every single night. In the quiet theater of your mind, During the deep immersion of REM sleep, your brain acts as a sophisticated flight simulator for the complexities of life. While your body remains perfectly still, tucked safely under the covers, your mind is busy constructing scenarios that allow you to practice, refine, and rehearse your responses to the world outside. You might have noticed that your dreams often involve familiar themes. Perhaps you are navigating a social gathering, trying to solve a problem at work, or even finding yourself in a situation that feels slightly tense or challenging. These aren't just random occurrences. According to many evolutionary psychologists, this is part of what is known as the threat simulation theory. This theory suggests that dreaming evolved as a vital survival mechanism for our ancestors. In a world where physical threats were a daily reality, those whose brains could practice escaping from predators or navigating dangerous terrain while they slept were much better prepared to handle those situations when they were awake. The dream state provided a safe haven where the brain could run through various what-if scenarios, strengthening the neural pathways for quick thinking and effective action. In our modern world, the threats we face are rarely as physical as a predator in the tall grass, but our brains still use this ancient system to help us navigate our daily lives. Today, your flight simulator might focus on social interactions, practicing how to handle a difficult conversation, how to stand up for yourself, or how to navigate the subtle nuances of a relationship. It is a gentle training ground for the soul, a place where you can explore different emotional responses and outcomes without any real-world consequences. By simulating these experiences, your brain is reducing the novelty and the fear associated with them. It is building your confidence and your resilience. When you wake up and face the actual challenges of the day, you do so with a mind that has already vetted various strategies and responses. You are more prepared, more composed, and more capable because of the work your brain did in the dark. Take a slow, deep breath and feel the comfort in this realization. Your dreams, even the ones that feel a little intense or strange, are actually a form of protection. They are a sign of a mind that is deeply invested in your well-being, working tirelessly to ensure you are ready for whatever tomorrow may bring. It is an act of internal care, a way of sharpening your intuition and softening the edges of your anxieties. As you drift further into this peaceful state, it is fascinating to consider how the brain manages to make these simulations feel so vivid, so textured, and so undeniably real. To create a world that moves and breathes with such clarity, the brain relies on a very specific and delicate balance of internal chemistry. It is a shift in the very ingredients of your consciousness, a change in the signals that allow your internal vision to shine with a brilliance that rivals the waking world. This chemical transition is the next step in our journey, moving us deeper into the heart of why your dreams feel the way they do. To understand how these dreams become so vibrant, so textured, and so seemingly real, we have to look at the invisible architecture of your brain's chemistry. While you rest in the stillness of the night, your brain is actually a busy laboratory, carefully mixing and releasing specific molecules that change the way you perceive your inner world. It is a delicate, beautiful transition, where the chemicals that govern your waking life step aside, allowing a new set of messengers to take the stage. One of the most important players in this nightly theater is a chemical called acetylcholine. During the day, you rely on acetylcholine to help you focus on tasks, learn new information, and keep your attention sharp. It is the chemical of wakeful concentration. But as you enter REM sleep, something truly remarkable happens. In certain parts of your brain, levels of acetylcholine spike dramatically, sometimes reaching concentrations even higher than when you are wide awake and fully alert. This surge of acetylcholine acts like a spotlight for the mind's eye. It is the reason your dreams don't just flicker by like faint, distant memories, but instead feel as solid and vivid as the world you see during the day. While your body remains perfectly still and safe, this chemical ensures that your internal visual and emotional centers are firing with high intensity. It maintains a high level of internal focus, allowing your brain to process the complex narratives and landscapes of your dreams with incredible clarity. It is as if the brain is turning up the brightness and the volume on its own internal cinema, making sure that every detail of the flight simulator is rendered in high definition. As this chemical flows through your neural pathways, it creates a unique state of being. Usually, high levels of brain activity are reserved for when we are interacting with the outside world. But during this phase of sleep, the brain is essentially talking to itself. It is using its own stores of memory and emotion to create a world that feels just as tangible as reality. This is why, in the middle of a dream, you rarely question the strange physics or the sudden shifts in scenery. Your brain is so focused on the internal experience that it accepts it as the only truth. Take a moment to appreciate the precision of this process. Your mind is capable of creating entire universes filled with color, sound, and feeling, all through the careful release of these tiny molecules. It is a testament to the sophistication of your biology, a quiet miracle occurring every few hours as you drift through the night. But this chemical dance doesn't happen at random. It is part of a much larger, much older system that governs every aspect of your life. Just as the tide responds to the moon, your internal chemistry responds to a rhythm that has been set over millions of years. This leads us to wonder, how does the brain know exactly when to release these chemicals? How does it know when to dim the lights of the waking world and when to ignite the fires of the dream state? The answer lies in the deep ancient clocks that reside within us, the biological timers that synchronize our bodies with the rising and setting of the sun, ensuring that every stage of our rest happens at exactly the right moment. Deep within the center of your brain, nestled safely in a region called the hypothalamus, lies a tiny twin-shaped cluster of neurons that functions as your body's master clock. This remarkable structure is known as the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or the SCN for short. It is no larger than a single grain of rice containing only about 20,000 neurons, yet it holds the absolute authority over your daily life. It is the conductor of your biological orchestra, ensuring that every organ, every hormone, and every cell knows exactly what time it is and what it should be doing. This master clock has a direct private line of communication with your eyes. Even as you lie here with your eyelids closed, specialized sensors in your retinas are gathering subtle information about the light levels in your environment. These sensors don't help you see shapes or colors. Instead, they act as a simple light meter for the SCN. When the blue-toned light of the morning sky hits these receptors, the SCN receives a signal to ramp up your body's activity, raising your temperature and releasing cortisol to help you meet the day. But as the sun dips below the horizon and the world transitions into the warm, soft amber of evening, the SCN recognizes the shift. It begins the slow, methodical process of winding down the gears of your waking mind. What is truly fascinating about this internal clock is its independence. If you were to live in a room with no windows, no clocks, and no way to tell the time of day, your SCN would still keep a near-perfect 24-hour rhythm. It has an internal autonomous beat that is hardwired into your very DNA. It is an evolutionary legacy, an ancient piece of biological hardware that has been refined over millions of years to ensure that your life remains in perfect harmony with the rotation of the earth. Your digestion, your immune response, and your heart rate all dance to the rhythm of this internal metronome, shifting their pace as the master clock dictates the passage of time. As you listen to these words, take a slow, steady breath and try to feel that rhythm within yourself. It is not a frantic ticking clock, but a slow, pulsing wave that moves through your entire being. Well, you are part of a grand planetary cycle that predates human history. There is a profound peace in realizing that you don't have to manage these systems. You don't have to tell your heart to slow down or your brain to prepare for rest. Your CN is doing that for you, quietly and faithfully, as it has every night of your life. Allow yourself to settle deeper into your bed, feeling the weight of your body as it aligns with this natural ancient cadence. You are in sync with the world outside, even as you drift further away from it. This internal conductor is currently preparing for the next movement in your nightly symphony. One of the most important tasks of the master clock is to signal the release of a specific chemical messenger that acts as the official announcement that night has truly arrived. It is the SCN that gives the order to the pineal gland to begin the production of a very special molecule, one that doesn't force you into sleep, but rather acts as a gentle invitation, a biological lights-out signal that tells every part of your body it is time to begin the journey into the dark. This molecule, often called the hormone of darkness, is melatonin. It is perhaps one of the most misunderstood chemicals in our body. Many people think of melatonin as a powerful sedative, a biological hammer that knocks us unconscious. But the reality is much more subtle and, in many ways, more beautiful. Think of melatonin not as the sleep itself, but as the official at the beginning of a race. It stands at the starting line, raises the starter's pistol, and fires the signal. It doesn't run the race for you, and it doesn't force the runners to move, but it tells every system in your body that the event has officially begun. It is the signal that the waking part of your day has concluded and the resting part must now take over. This signal is generated by the pineal gland, a tiny pine cone-shaped structure tucked deep within the center of the brain. Throughout history, philosophers and early scientists were fascinated by this small gland, sometimes calling it the seat of the soul because of its central location. Today, we know it as a masterful chemical translator. It takes the message of darkness from your eyes and translates it into a language the rest of your body can understand. As the light of the day fades and the blue wavelengths of the sun disappear, the pineal gland begins its nightly work. It slowly releases melatonin into your bloodstream, where it circulates like a quiet whisper, reaching every organ, every tissue, and every individual cell. When melatonin arrives at these destinations, it doesn't act as a switch that turns everything off. Instead, it acts as a coordinator. It informs your heart, your liver, and your lungs that the environment has changed. It is a systemic announcement of the night. It tells your heart it is time to slow its beat, your lungs to steady their rhythm, and your metabolism to shift its focus from active processing to quiet maintenance. This is why you feel that gradual heavy sensation as the evening progresses. It isn't a sudden drop into sleep, but a slow, graceful descent. Take a moment to appreciate this internal transition. You are not being forced into a state of rest. You are being invited. Melatonin is like the gentle lowering of the lights in a theater before the performance begins. It creates the perfect environment for sleep to occur, making the transition feel natural, inevitable, and safe. It is the bridge between the high-energy world of the day and the restorative silence of the night. As you listen, you may feel your muscles relaxing further, accepting this invitation. But melatonin doesn't work in isolation. It is part of a complex, coordinated effort to prepare your physical form for the deep dive into rest. As the levels of this hormone rise, they begin to trigger another essential physiological change, a shift that you might feel as a subtle coolness in your skin or a desire to pull the blankets a little closer. This is because in order to successfully enter the gates of sleep, your body must begin to shed its heat, initiating a cooling of your core that signals the final transition into the world of rest. As you settle deeper into the softness of your bed, your body is embarking on one of its most vital thermal transitions. While the chemical signals of melatonin have already begun to quiet your mind, your internal thermometer is starting a descent of its own. You might notice your hands or feet feeling a little warmer as you drift off. And there is a profound scientific reason for this. To successfully cross the threshold into sleep, your core body temperature must drop by about 2 to 3 degrees Fahrenheit. This cooling is not just a result of being still. It is a biological requirement, a necessary signal to your brain that the day is truly over. This internal cooling process is why the environment around you plays such a significant role in how well you rest. You may have heard that a cool room somewhere around 65 degrees Fahrenheit is the ideal setting for a deep night's sleep. This is because a cooler environment acts as a thermal sink, helping your body shed the heat it has carried throughout the active hours of the day. It is as if your body is opening a window to let the warmth of the day's exertions escape, allowing your internal systems to reach that perfect, chilled state where deep repair can begin. When your core temperature stays too high, your brain finds it difficult to transition into the deeper, more restorative stages of sleep, often leaving you in a state of restless tossing and turning. There is a beautiful paradox in how we can help this process along. Perhaps you've noticed how a warm bath or a hot shower shortly before bed makes you feel remarkably heavy and ready for sleep. It seems strange that adding heat would help you cool down, but the science is elegant. The warm water dilates the blood vessels near the surface of your skin, a process called vasodilation. This brings the blood from your warm core out to your extremities, your hands and your feet. Once you step out of the bath, that heat is quickly released into the air, causing your internal temperature to plummet. By warming your surface, you are essentially helping your body to vent its internal heat more efficiently. It is a gentle nudge to your biology, helping you slide more quickly into the first stages of rest. Take a moment now to visualize this process happening within you. Imagine a soft silver mist, cool and incredibly peaceful, settling over your body. It starts at the crown of your head, smoothing away any lingering thoughts, and moves slowly down across your eyes and cheeks. Feel that cool, refreshing sensation move over your shoulders, down your arms, and into your chest. With every slow, steady breath you take, feel your body releasing the last of the day's heat. You are becoming like a stone in a quiet stream, perfectly balanced with the cool, still world around you. Your heart rate slows further, your muscles lose their last remaining tension, and you feel the immense relief of simply letting go. This thermal shift is one half of a great internal conversation. Your body is not only reading the temperature of the air, but also the quality of the light that filters through your eyelids. Even as you drift into this cool, dark space, specialized sensors in your eyes are still quietly at work, monitoring the world for the specific wavelengths that govern your internal clock. Just as the cooling of your core tells your body it is time to hide away, these sensors are the guardians that tell your brain when the world is bright and when it is time to remain in the shadows of sleep. Even as your eyelids rest heavy and still, shielding you from the shapes and colors of the waking world, they remain a quiet gateway. We often think of our eyes as being off when they are closed, but deep within the retina, there is a specialized group of sensors that never truly sleep. These are not the rods and cones that help you see the vibrant details of a flower or the face of a friend. Instead, these are ancient, dedicated light sensors, known as intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells. They do not help you see images, they help you see time. These cells contain a light-sensitive protein called melanopsin. While the rest of your visual system is busy processing the world's beauty during the day, these melanopsin receptors are quietly monitoring the atmosphere for one specific thing: blue light. To our ancestors, blue light was the unmistakable signature of the morning sky. It is the high-energy, short wavelength light that scatters through the atmosphere at dawn, signaling that the period of vulnerability and darkness is over. When these sensors detect even a faint trace of this blue light, they send an immediate, direct signal to your brain's master clock. They act as a biological bridge between the rotation of the earth and the chemistry of your mind. This signal tells your brain to suppress melatonin, the hormone of darkness, and to begin the subtle process of warming your core and sharpening your focus for the day ahead. This is why the modern world of screens and bright LED bulbs can sometimes feel so restless. Their blue-rich glow mimics a perpetual morning, whispering to these ancient sensors that the sun is always rising, even when your body is desperate for the moon. Take a slow, comforting breath and appreciate the incredible design of these hidden guardians. Even now, in the peaceful dimness of your room, they are confirming for your brain that it is safe to let go. They have sensed the absence of the morning blue and have given your internal clock the all clear to proceed with the night's deep work. There is a profound sense of belonging in this realization, that your very eyes are tuned to the colors of the atmosphere and the rhythms of the heavens. You are not merely a passenger on this planet. Your biology is a living, breathing reflection of the sun and the stars. With the light sensors satisfied that the world is dark, and the cooling of your body signaling that it is time for repair, your brain begins to organize your rest into a magnificent, predictable architecture. It does not simply drift aimlessly through the night. Instead, it embarks on a series of carefully timed journeys, rhythmic waves of consciousness that repeat with the precision of the tides. This structure, known as the sleep cycle, ensures that every part of your mind and body receives the specific type of care it needs at exactly the right moment. As you settle deeper into your pillow, you are beginning the first of these great 90-minute waves, the foundational pulse of a truly restorative night. Think of your sleep not as a single, long block of time, but as a series of elegant, repeating chapters. Science calls this the architecture of sleep, and it is one of the most beautiful examples of biological rhythm in the natural world. Instead of falling into a heavy silence and staying there until dawn, your brain moves through distinct stages in a predictable sequence that lasts roughly 90 minutes. This 90-minute window is the basic heartbeat of your night, a unit of time that governs the deep work of your recovery. In each of these cycles, you begin with a gentle descent. You slide through the light stages of NREM sleep, where your heart slows and your muscles begin to let go, eventually reaching the profound quiet depths of slow-wave sleep. But your brain does not stay in those depths forever. After your body has had its fill of physical restoration, the mind begins a slow, graceful climb back toward the surface, passing through light sleep once more before entering the vibrant, active world of REM. Most people will experience between 4 and 6 of these waves throughout a full night of rest. It is a recurring journey, a constant rising and falling that ensures every corner of your mind and body is tended to. What is truly fascinating, however, is that no two cycles are exactly the same. Your brain is a master of prioritization. In the first few cycles of the night, the waves are heavy and deep. Your brain prioritizes the physical healing and the waste clearing of stage 3 sleep, as if it knows that the body's structural integrity must be addressed first, while the night is at its darkest. As the night progresses and the early hours of the morning approach, the architecture of the waves begins to shift. The deep, heavy valleys of slow-wave sleep become shorter and shallower, and the peaks of REM sleep become longer, more expansive, and more vivid. By the time you are in your fifth or sixth cycle, you are spending much of your time in the creative, emotional theater of dreams. This shifting balance is why you might wake up feeling physically refreshed after a short sleep, but still feel mentally foggy. Your brain simply didn't have enough time to reach those long, late-night stretches of REM that process your thoughts and emotions. When you view sleep this way, it transforms from a passive state of being out into a rhythmic, purposeful dance. It is not a flat line of silence, but a symphony of shifting frequencies and changing duties. Each 90-minute wave is a vital performance, a carefully choreographed routine that has been perfected over millions of years. You can trust this rhythm implicitly. You don't need to guide it or manage it. You only need to provide the quiet space and the time for it to begin. This delicate architecture relies on one thing above all else: a steady beat. Just as a dancer performs best when the music is steady and predictable, your brain's internal cycles flourish when they know exactly when the performance is supposed to start. This internal timing is what allows the brain to prepare for the cleaning and sorting process long before you even close your eyes. It is the quiet power of the sleep rhythm, the profound, healing impact that simple consistency has on the quality of your nightly journey. This rhythm we've been exploring is not just a random occurrence. It is the heartbeat of your mind's internal clock. When we speak of sleep, we often focus on the quantity, the number of hours we manage to capture. But the brain actually values something else even more: consistency. In the world of neuroscience, regularity is the brain's best friend. When you go to bed and wake up at roughly the same time every day, you are giving your brain a map. You are telling it exactly when the housekeeping shift begins and when it must end. Think of it like a professional kitchen preparing for a grand dinner. If the staff knows exactly when the guests will arrive, they can begin the prep work hours in advance, chopping, simmering, and organizing. But if the guests show up at a different time every night, the staff is caught off guard, and the service becomes rushed and fragmented. When you keep a steady sleep rhythm, your brain actually begins to trigger the release of melatonin and the lowering of your core temperature long before your head even hits the pillow. It starts the pre-wash cycle of the glymphatic system, ensuring that the moment you lose consciousness, the deep cleaning can begin with maximum efficiency. Your brain is a creature of habit, and it thrives when it can predict the coming darkness. There is a fascinating truth in the study of human health. The regularity of your sleep may be just as important, if not more so, than the total duration. Scientific research has shown that individuals with a highly consistent sleep schedule often have stronger immune systems and sharper cognitive function than those who sleep longer hours but at irregular times. By keeping the rhythm steady, you are strengthening the circadian signal, the internal pulse that tells every cell in your body how to behave. This regularity allows your immune system to time its repairs perfectly, and it allows your memory centers to move information from the temporary inbox to permanent storage without being interrupted by a premature alarm. or a late-night shift in chemistry. There is a deep, quiet power in this kind of routine. It is a form of self-care that requires no active effort, only a gentle commitment to your own biological nature. By honoring the rhythm, you are not just sleeping. You are cultivating a state of internal harmony. You are allowing your brain to reach the full depth of stage 3 and the full height of REM without the friction of a shifting schedule. It is the simple gift of predictability, allowing your mind to let go completely, knowing that the morning will arrive exactly when it is expected. As you rest here now, perhaps feeling that steady rhythm beginning to take hold, you are nearing the end of tonight's quiet exploration. Your brain is already well on its way, moving through the stages we've discussed, performing the tasks that only it can do. We are coming to the completion of this journey, the moment where the science ends and the true deep restoration takes over. Every breath you take is now a part of that steady, ancient beat, carrying you toward a morning where you will wake up as a slightly different, more refined version of yourself. And so, we arrive at the completion of our journey together tonight. While we have spent this time wandering through the quiet corridors of the mind, your brain has already begun the heavy lifting. It is a remarkable thought to hold as you drift further away, that right now, in the silence of your room, a masterpiece of biological engineering is at work. Every minute you spend in this state is a minute of profound transformation. We have traced the path from the first heavy feeling of adenosine in the limbs to the deep pulsing rhythms of delta waves and the vivid, creative theater of REM. You have seen how your mind guards you, cleanses you, and teaches you while you rest. Think for a moment of all that is happening beneath the surface. While your muscles are heavy and still, your internal world is a flurry of restorative activity. The sleep pressure of the day is being slowly dismantled, molecule by molecule, resetting your internal clock for a fresh start. Your internal gatekeeper, the thalamus, is standing watch, filtering out the distant sounds of the world so that you can remain undisturbed in your sanctuary. Deep within the folds of your cortex, the glymphatic system is performing its silent, rhythmic wash, clearing away the metabolic debris of thought and leaving behind a landscape that is clean, quiet, and refreshed. As you move through the cycles of the night, your memories are being woven into the fabric of who you are. The lessons of today, the names, the faces, the small moments of beauty are being sorted, polished, and stored away in the vast library of your long-term memory. The emotional weight you may have carried is being gently processed in the safe, neurochemical-free environment of your dreams, losing its sharp edges and becoming lighter and easier to carry by dawn. You are not just sleeping, you are being meticulously reconstructed, cell by cell. There is a beautiful scientific truth in this. When you open your eyes tomorrow morning, you will quite literally have a new brain. It will be a brain that has been washed, organized, and healed. The neural pathways will be more efficient. The chemical levels will be perfectly balanced, and the clutter of yesterday will have been cleared to make room for the new possibilities of tomorrow. You are participating in the most essential act of survival and growth that nature has ever designed. This is not lost time. It is the most productive part of your life. There is nothing left for you to do now. No more facts to learn, no more thoughts to hold on to, and no more questions to answer. You have done the work of the waking day, and now you are allowing your body to do the sacred work of the night. You are safe, you are protected by the very biology that built you, and you are exactly where you need to be. The rhythms of the universe and the rhythms of your own heart are now one and the same, beating in a slow, steady harmony that requires no effort at all. Let the weight of the day fall away completely. Feel the softness of the air, the support of your bed, and the steady, quiet hum of a mind finding its perfect peace. You are drifting into a space of deep, healing restoration where time moves slowly and the world feels very far away. Your journey into the light of tomorrow begins here in the beautiful, necessary dark. Sleep now, rest deeply. Good night.